Well, sitting here waiting for my caddy. Probably gonna miss our tee time. I'm gonna take it out of his pay though. I sure hope he's a better caddy than a commentator, or else we are gonna lose a lot of money today. Make sure he keeps my balls clean, the club's clean, and we're good.
Ben, what's going on, man? So excited about today.
Well, you're late.
Sorry.
It's not a good start.
Traffic, yeah.
Not a good start.
Let me get that for you. Okay.
Careful with them.
Okay.
You want me to get my own door, or?
I
I mean, how do you do this here? It's a black car, right?
We're back, that's right, 88 Ride, we're in Las Vegas. And once again, we are stepping up our game. Not only are we picking up some of the biggest names in poker and taking them, but today, I'm gonna caddy for the one and only Ben Lamb, 2011 World Series of Poker Player of the Year. And as far as I'm concerned, maybe one of the most mysterious stars of poker. Is that fair to say? Like, does anybody know who
private,
you are?
I think.
Oh, yeah, really,
Private.
You're really private.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm that private, but you know, I like to keep to myself and kind of keep my business, you know, within my own little friend circle. You know, poker's a treacherous world sometimes, to say the least, and you know, I think it's close. If you keep your friends close, you know, you won't get in too much trouble.
Does anybody know who you are? I mean, the funny thing is when we talk to people outside of poker, you know, they know Daniel Negreanu, they know Phil Hellmuth, they know a lot of those names. Many of them don't know who you are, and I get the feeling that you like it that way.
I'll say that I am a pretty private person, but in general, poker players are too outspoken in a lot of ways. You know, like they think that their opinion on matters so much, and they're outspoken on Twitter and saying all these things that their opinion is probably stupid a lot of the time. Not necessarily the guys you mentioned. I like all those guys, but you know, like why do I need to share my opinion? Who cares what I think about most things? You know, so pretty private and keep it quiet. And I have a nice tight friend circle that I love and adore, and I prefer it that way.
Your tournament schedule seems to be somewhat light. I mean, I can go back to 2011, the year you won the World Series Player of the Year.
Fun year, fun summer.
That was a fun summer. I covered many of your events, by the way, for ESPN, and you know, that was the summer you just blew up. You caught on fire. Now everybody in poker already knew who you were, but now everybody knows who you are. Even that summer, though, you didn't play much.
I played a lot. I played every day that summer, to be clear, but I think I only played 10 tournaments. The first 5 of which I didn't cash in, and the next 5 I caught some fire, to say the least. But I still played cash every day that summer, and you know, primarily at that time specifically, I was much more cash game oriented than tournaments. I always thought of tournaments as like a way to like basically hit like a jackpot so you can play higher stakes cash. You know, like you can skip some levels. You know, if you're trying to use bankroll management or whatever. But and now, you know, I play a lot less poker than I did back then. Back then I was probably playing, you know, 300 days a year or so, and I'm probably at like 60 days a year, half of that during the World Series. I still love poker, but I don't have that same drive I once had to, you know, study it as in-depthly as I once did, and kind of branching out into other things that I'm finding more passion in.
Why is that?
I don't know.
I mean, it's just like you've hit the mother load, you've made the money, or is it just the fact that you've found other interests as well?
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, every day you wake up, your goal is probably to either, you know, make money, work, or have fun, and if poker becomes less fun, like, I don't know, like, I still love it. I do. And I look forward to playing it now because I only play it, you know, 50, 60 days a year. Whereas, you know, 10 years ago when I was playing it, you know, full time, more or less, you know, most days, you know, it was more work, which is fine, you know, but now that I get to look forward to it, like, I find a lot more enjoyment. Like, if there's a PLO tournament series at Poker Go coming up, like, I look forward to that. If I have a big PLO game or cash game or you know, the World Series of Poker and it's coming up, like I look like a month before the World Series of Poker starts, like I'm excited, you know.
Okay, I was gonna ask you that. Is there an event out there that gets your blood going.
The 50K PLO, yeah.
50K PLO.
Yeah,
That's
or any of the high stakes PLO tournaments in general. The main event obviously is a blast as well, especially if you make it deeper in that thing. It's unlike any experience I've ever had.
Okay, well, speaking of making it deep in the main event, you've done that numerous times.
I'm a lucky motherfucker.
3rd place in 2011, 9th place a few years after that. But the one that a lot of people don't remember, and I'm sure you obviously do, is you go back to 2009, I think, to the year, you finished in 14th.
I did, yeah.
Talk us through that, because at that point of your career, where were you? And what did that mean to you?
I had moved to Vegas the summer previously, and I was playing like quarter 50 the Bellagio and stuff. Like, I wouldn't say high stakes, but like quarter 50 back then was like probably the equivalent of like 100, 200 a day. Like every year the games get bigger, stakes get bigger, there's more money in the ecosystem. So like quarter 50 was like pretty damn high stakes back then.
That's big game.
Yeah, well, in 2009 it was, I felt like it was much bigger. There was less people playing it. So I was already playing relatively high stakes. So I entered that tournament that year. I do well, I get 14th for $600,000. And
just do well, yeah. I started doing.
Well, that's the thing, is you get down to that few and you don't win it, like, or get top 3 or something, like, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. I remember a particular hand, a guy named Steve Begleiter. He got 3rd or 4th. I had aces, I 3-bet him. He had jack 9 of diamonds, he flopped 2 pair, and he took like 70% of my chips. With 17 left. And he was very excited. I've spoke to him about this since, and he apologized, because in the moment he was very excited. He came up and just like slapped me on my back, but like very hard. I just lost this pot. Like my whole like soul was ripped from my body.
So he slapped you on your back like
hard.
you were
like a high five or something. Yeah, you just ruined my fucking life, and now you want to slap my back. And so I actually talked about this on Colt No's podcast, and he reached out to me, offered to golf with me, and said he was, he didn't mean anything by it. He was just excited, and when you're that deep in the main events, it's more than the money. You've been playing in a tournament for 7 or 8 days. You're tired, you're emotionally drained, and like every turn, like a 2-outer all of a sudden becomes like a nightmare situation. Like you're fading this 2-outer that, like, in a cash game in a $100,000 pot, you're just like, oh, it's not coming, it's whatever. But in this tournament, you've been playing for 7 days. Like, you're like, please no jack, please no jack. You're praying, so your emotions are running very, very high. You're so emotionally invested that outbursts like this have happened. We've all seen it.
It's funny.
Right
here, okay. It's funny. You talk about poker players, especially professional poker players.
Mm-hmm.
They try to focus on the decision-making process and try not to focus on the results. But when you look at the main event, and even though you know that it's just another poker tournament, and yeah, I'm not in control, that's hard, right? Because you said, like, you are emotionally invested. You've been there for 7, 8 days or whatever it is. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can see the gold at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. And I get it from Steve's point of view. It's just, obviously, his adrenaline's, just going at top notch, and boom. But back then, you must have been like, what the?
Yeah, I was more upset I lost the hand, of course, but like that didn't help. And then, like, it's funny now. It's been, what was that, 14 years ago, so it's funny now, and it
then not so much.
And the main event is a poker tournament, just like any other poker tournament, until, like, so you enter, there's 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 people now in it. You're like, okay, somebody is going to win it. I'm not winning this thing. There's 10,000 people in it. Like, you're going to play hard and, try to give it a run, but now you get down to like a few hundred people, and it's like now like a task that can be completed. Like, it's attainable. And now you get down to 3 or 4 or 5 tables. You see everyone like in one little group just around you. Where you started, there was multiple days, and then you got everyone in one room, and then one smaller area, blah blah blah. As it becomes attainable, it becomes like super real. Like, okay, I might win the main event. Like, this is every poker player's dream. Still my dream, but how attainable it is. It's not at the beginning of the tournament, but it becomes super real as days and days progress.
You've had so much success at the main event. Is your mentality part of the reason? Obviously you're a great poker player, and I could very simply like, hey, what do you attribute to your great runs in the main event? Just be like, well, I'm a good poker player, and I'm better than most that are playing in the event. Yes, 100%. But I think there's more than that, clearly.
I think I'm very good at physical reads. I think I'm very good against playing against less competent players.
Yeah.
You put me in a 100K high roller no limit tournament, I'm gonna get beat up. Like, those guys have studied so much more, specifically no limit, than I have, that I'm not going to be in a good spot in that game, most likely. But now you put 10,000 people in a field, like, I think maybe I am better at playing, less competent players than maybe even those guys, the top guys in the world.
I've actually had that question. I've had that debate with people. Would you say, if you could choose, would you rather be really, really amazing against the best players in the world, or would you rather be really, really amazing against, average to less experienced players?
I guess I would take the first, like being like, a GTO bot, like, because even if you're a GTO bot, like, in any tournament, you're going to be a huge favorite, a huge favorite. So I would take that more boring first route, where you're not, making crazy calls based on a physical read or whatever, or bluffs.
I remember there was a hand. I don't know if this will play well on the show. My apologies. You can look it up on YouTube. Probably it's there somewhere. There was a hand that I watched you play in 2011, and I was covering the main event at the time. I don't remember. No, I don't know if it was. No, it was somebody less experienced, I believe. And this is. I mean, I want to say there was this might have been like day 5 or day 6. We were covering it, and there was a hand where the board was paired on the flop, and it went like bet, raise, 3-bet, 4-bet. And I don't know if you remember the hand or not.
Yeah, it was with 4 left against Stashko, yeah.
It was? Okay, so
yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
and it went back and forth, and I kept thinking, I'm going, man, if the other guy just called one of those times.
It's 2011.
Maybe he actually has it.
It doesn't, yeah.
Maybe he has it if he just called. But the fact that he kept betting, I guess, gave you the impression like he doesn't have it.
Came King 8-8, and I had like 4 deuce, and he had 5-6 or something. He had tried to raise before the flop and messed up, so it was just a call. And I check raised the flop with nothing on King 8-8, and he 3-bet. And I was like, well, he tried to raise under the gun. I guess he doesn't have some 8s, whatever. But like, wouldn't he just call with like an 8 or a king? So like, if he re-raises here, like, this guy's full of it, whatever. And being 2011, much different, time in poker, I basically clicked it back, and he folded pretty quickly. Yeah, he busted me anyway, so he got the last left.
But that was a really cool hand, because it was just like, it was 2 poker players who kind of knew the other one was full of shit, and it was like, okay, who's gonna blink first?
Who's gonna give up first? Yeah. I miss those days of poker. Those were the most fun days of poker.
I mean, if he just calls you, it's a much different hand, right?
And yeah, but so nowadays they would just call, and take it away later most of the time, Obviously his mistake was 3-betting, kind of opened me up to get a little silly too, back at him.
Interesting spot, though. I like it.
Not a modern hand.
No, not at all. PLO's your game, though, right?
Definitely the game I think I'm the best at. PLO, yeah, for sure, and the most fun I've had with.
So before I go to PLO, and I want to cover some other stuff with you as well, your early days of poker, coming from Tulsa, and you moved to Vegas, and you play, did your family support you?
That's a tricky question. You're going to turn around back here, by the way. That's a tricky question. Did my family support me? They do now, and they did.
Anyway, now that you've made millions and millions of dollars, they support you. That's cool.
Both my brothers worked for my dad, and
what does your dad do?
He's a businessman in Tulsa. I mean, more or less, and they both work for my dad, and here I am, this dropout, college dropout. I showed up at my parents' house. I didn't tell them. I drove 6 hours from San Antonio where I was going to school, and said, I'm done with college. I'm gonna be a professional poker player. So how much money do you have? I said, I have $8,500. My dad, first time he looked at me, he said, first question he asked me, he goes, did you sell your books? I said, yeah. He goes, how much did you get? He said, $2,200. I said, give me that $2,200. So now 25% of my net worth's gone. 3 weeks later, I was low on funds, and I got a job dealing at the casino where I would deal for a little bit, then go play at the other casino, and did that off and on for 6 months. And quit a little before I turned 21. Rented up in online poker more or less. So didn't need that job. But when I left, I said, just in case this doesn't work out, I might be calling you guys in a few months.
That's amazing. You go there, you've got $8,500 to your name. And your dad just looks at you and goes, "Give me 2,200."
Yeah, those are my books. Because he bought the books. They're true. It was his books.
I get it. He was trying to send a little lesson. And my assumption would be that he probably thought you'd be crawling back to him within a couple of months, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I had to get a job, so like it wasn't all great, you know. A lot of these younger kids, you know, they start online with $100, and you know, I did that 100 times before one stuck, you know.
See, that's a great story, because everybody always assumes, people hear like the Annette Oberstad story, the Norwegian superstar, won the World Series of Poker Europe main event at like 18 years old, and they say she proclaims that she's never actually deposited a penny. Like she won a free roll, and then that was it.
No, I busted my full tilt account 50 times probably. Yeah, when I was a kid, yeah.
Over and over and over again. See, most people in that spot quit. Why didn't you quit?
Well, when you put $100 in, you run up to 5,000, then bust it. Like, I mean, I wasn't using, like, I had a job, so like I had income, so like, it's not like if I busted my full tilt account, like I was out of money, I would just go work and make a couple $100 the next day and try again. So I don't know. I mean, that's always the dream, right? Is running up a bankroll on nothing.
But was there a point where did you get discouraged? Did you just think, maybe I'm not good at this? Maybe I just don't have what it takes?
So the poker games, this is like 2006. Like the poker games back then were like so soft that like me going broke was probably just me like playing with 2 buy-ins in like a soft game. Like I saw some VIP playing and
no, I get
there. And yes, of course I got discouraged, but did I think I wasn't good? Everyone was so bad back then that like, of course I was good.
Okay, so let's go back to your family just for a second. So you're dealing, you're in Tulsa. Mm-hmm. What was your childhood like, by the way, in Tulsa?
Huh?
What was your childhood like in Tulsa? I've been in Tulsa, by the way, with Tana Karn and Run Good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Tana.
I love that city.
It's a great city, yeah.
I had no idea what it was like, and I went there and I was like, this is a great city.
It's a great city, for sure.
Like, I want to go back there with my kids and my wife. I was like, this is an amazing city.
I still go back to 3 or 4 times a year, see my friends, see my family. Our family's huge, so when we sit down for dinner, there's 18 of us, including my 2 brothers, my sister, my mom, my dad, and the nieces and nephews, 8 nieces and nephews.
How many nieces and nephews do you have?
And me and my wife, so it makes 18. 8. So with me and my wife, Rachel, that's 18 people sitting down for dinner. My dad built this huge table. We all fit on it. Yeah, it's nice.
Your dad must be like a pig in shit.
He loves it. Yeah, he loves it. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah. We always do Thanksgiving in Carmel. Get to play some nice golf up there. Everyone's there. You know, rent a big house, or we've outgrown the house that we've been renting for the last, dozen years, and so now we've rented a house and a little apartment. Yeah. So you're dealing in Tulsa. It doesn't sound like your relationship with your dad was frayed. It was just kind of, okay. No. I think he just kind of expected me to go down a more traditional path. Go to college, get an education, go into business like my other brothers did. And I don't know, like having a boss just sounded like so awful. Someone telling you what to do and how to do it. I didn't drop out to like be a professional poker player. I just kind of dropped out because whatever I thought I was going to do or how I was going to do it, I didn't really think I needed a traditional college education for. Poker was a means to make money, to figure that part out, and became a much bigger part of my life, thank God, than I expected it when I was 20 years old.
Okay. So was there a thought back then that you might think, I might just own a business at some point? Yeah.
Like I'll make some money and invest it and figure it out, and poker was so fun, and I got to travel the world and see all these cool places, and it just like when the fun stops, then I'll try to move into some other things, and it's still fun. I love it. I absolutely love playing poker. Yeah.
Let's go full circle back to the main event. So you're battling. You're now playing poker for a living. You moved to Vegas. You're playing 25-50, right? You're playing poker.
Yeah.
At this point, had your family kind of accepted that not only was this what you were doing, but you're really good at it and you're going to be fine? Or did it take the main event to kind of like validate it?
My family's very smart people, and so one tournament they realized could be a flash in the pan situation. But I think, my 3rd or 4th year out in Vegas in a row where I'd sent home money and my dad had put it, in a stock account and whatever else that, I was out of the poker economy now. 3 or 4 years of that in a row, I think my dad started to become like a little bit more on board and the rest of my family was quicker, but yeah, I mean, they finally accepted that I'm a degenerate living in Las Vegas who is good at playing a game.
Does your dad play poker?
No, he did a little bit in college. Like he knows the rules and whatnot. I remember I was playing on Empire Poker. I was playing $1, $2, or $2, $4 limit hold'em, and he was watching me when I was like 19 years old. I dropped out of college at this point. It might have been before I went to college even. And I like bluffed the river, and he's like, "What are you doing, you dumbass? Like he's not gonna fold for $4." And I was like, "Well, you got to bluff, Dad." And he was like, you know, I remember it, you know, a long time ago.
Did he fold?
No, he didn't fold. He called me quickly.
So how's been balancing family, marriage, poker?
Everything, yeah. Well, my wife's she's an angel. She's considerate, and she works as a substitute teacher, which means she doesn't work all the time. So on poker trips, she can mostly go with me, which is great. Not all of them, but that's nice. And then, you know,
I met her in Montenegro during
right.
the Triton tour for a hot second. Mm-hmm. Lovely, very sweet.
I agree with all that.
I approve.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I mean,
I was worried that
I know. Listen,
I was gonna have to have a hard conversation with her. I got home.
I was gonna say I wasn't
You
at
didn't
the
approve.
wedding to, you know, but I just want to make sure I approve.
Are you guilt tripping me for no invite?
I like it. Okay, so golf. Mm-hmm. I follow you on Twitter. I very rarely see you tweet, and you mentioned this before. You don't tweet about politics. You don't tweet about mask, no mask, COVID, anything like that. You don't. You really stay pretty, you know, out of it in terms of like staying out of the controversy. Okay.
Superpower of mine.
And
To know my opinion doesn't matter.
I respect
And no one cares about it.
I respect that. But sometimes I expect you to tweet something about poker. And very rarely do I see you tweet about poker. I see you tweet about golf a lot. Has golf replaced poker as your passion these days?
So, golf's so fucking hard. And as much as I try and practice, I'm down to a 6 handicap.
6?
Okay, but I play a lot of golf, okay?
That's really
and
good.
Most of my friends are like +1s, like Shane Sigsbee's a +4. I play golf with him 120 times a year. You would think some of that would rub off me.
By the way, I saw that shot, 2-iron from like 268.
He does that every day. I mean,
What is that?
He's absolutely filthy. Okay. And the most annoying thing about Shane
I couldn't even hit a 2-iron. I mean, do you realize, for those of you who don't play golf, hitting a 2-iron is near impossible.
Not a thing, yeah.
It's not an easy club to hit.
No, hard. Yeah. But the most annoying thing about Shane is Shane plays golf. You know, he plays a lot of golf, but he practices like 0 basically. Like he probably hits 200 range balls a year. Like he does not practice. Before a round of golf, he might hit like 3 or 4 sand wedges, you know, on the range, but probably not. Probably first swing, no practice swing, is a 330-yard drive down one's fairway. He's stupidly athletic, annoyingly athletic. Yeah.
So how's your golf game these days? You're a 6 handicap. What were you? I mean, when did you start playing golf? Did you play golf as a kid, or?
I played as a kid. I played tournaments, and like I wasn't very good. I mean, I shot, you know, somewhere between 78 and 88 most rounds as a kid, I'm sure, and probably most in the 80s.
For those of you who don't play golf, by the way, 78 to 88 is good. Okay. Anyway. Continue.
But you go play these tournaments, and you see a kid shoot 69. You know, like it's the difference between 88 and 78 is this much. The difference between 88 and 68 is a mile.
Right.
So, you know,
you're not getting a college scholarship. You're shooting at 84.
No, not any college anyone listening to this has heard of. But I loved it. You know, it was great. You know, met a lot of my friends that I'm still friends with, you know, on the golf course when I was a kid. And then when I turned 16, I was always looking forward to, you know, getting the golf cart. And now I get to drive and play 18 holes in, you know, 3 hours instead of walking in 5. And I realized you have to get a car when you're 16, and you know, girls like cars. So golf became kind of out. And
girls like cars.
They do, yeah. And I turned 16 before all my friends too. I had like that 6 month, like I got a car, no one else does thing. Had a beautiful Honda Civic. Topped it out at 92 once. It was fast.
Honda Civic.
110 miles, 110 horsepower, yeah.
Wow. How did it stay together?
Well, I wrecked it into the sheriff's tree. There's a row going to my house.
Wait, a church tree?
The sheriff's tree.
The sheriff's tree. Okay, even better than the church tree.
Yeah, there's a row going to my house, and I thought, there's a big hill, and you could go down this hill, and you could get up to like 80 in the Honda Civic. I was a dumb 16-year-old kid. And so one time I was like, I'm going to floor it all the way up to the hill and then all the way down the hill. And I was probably going, 90, 91. I was moving. Well, the problem with that speed going over that hill was it's a hill. And then I went flying. And
How much air did you get?
well, I don't know, but the police report had 138 feet of skid marks starting at the reentry marks. And then I spun down the hill. I mean, obviously lucky to be alive. My buddy was in the car too, and we hit the sheriff's tree at the bottom of the hill, like above an overhang. So that tree probably saved me as well.
That's amazing.
The sheriff came out. He was mad at me, and I said, "I'm fine. I'm fine." He said, "I'm calling the cops." I said, "No, you don't need to call the cops. I'm fine." He goes, "I don't care. I'm the sheriff of Tulsa, and your ass is going to jail." His kids were playing in the yard. It was bad scene for me. That was fun. I was 2 blocks away from my parents' house. They heard it all, and I didn't drive my car for a while.
So when you told your parents and your dad that you were quitting school and going to play poker, it wasn't the first time you had done something really stupid.
No. I did a lot of dumb things in my adolescence. I think we all did. We all thought we were invincible at one point. And,
I mean, listen, if you're not driving 100...
I will say that woke me up. That woke me up a bit. Yeah.
You must have been scared.
Oh, frightened. Yeah. I very easily could have died. I mean, there was another car that maybe went to the side, maybe over. We're not sure. Probably the side, but. Yeah, I very easily could have died that day. I could have killed my buddy. Yeah, so I cleaned up my act quite a bit. I think after that.
Well, fortunately, you were okay and you learned from it. And like all of us, hey, if you're not doing something dumb when you're 16 years old or 17 years old,
when are you gonna do it?
Right, you're probably doing it wrong. Hey, I want to fast forward to Vegas. Your first roommate. So fortunately, we had Chance Corneth in another 888 ride, and he talked about you. And he talked about his first time he met you at a final table of a poker tournament here in Vegas, and then how you guys became roommates. Talk us through that.
Yeah, so we were playing a tournament, and I guess only the people my age will remember it, but one of the coolest places I'd ever played poker, the Fontana Lounge at the Bellagio, right over the fountains.
Yeah.
I think it's Hyde nightclub now, or Lago, I think Lago now, but anyways, you could play right by the fountains. It was awesome. Like compared to the other rooms, it was by far the best. Now with Poker Go, it's been surpassed, but this place was awesome. And we were playing a 3K tournament or 2K no limit, one of the two, down to 20 or 30 people, and my image was very, very bad. I was playing very aggressively, raising a bunch, folding a bunch, betting a bunch, saying you take it, and I'd practiced this at home where if my image got real bad, I could accidentally show my cards. And so I got dealt the ace-jack offsuit under the gun, 7-handed, and I was like, this is a perfect opportunity. And I folded them in such a way that they accidentally flipped over, and I was like, oh shit, whatever. I just kind of played it off. People were a lot less smart back then. And to try to fix my image a bit. And about 2 hands later, Chance turns to me, he's like, hey, did you do that on purpose? I was like, dude, let's be friends. I'm done. Back then, like anyone sharp, that was the study tools weren't all there. You couldn't go on, a website or have solvers or anything else to study. The best way to study was to just get a core group of 4 or 5 guys and just be complete poker nerds for a few years, and discuss hands and theories and how and why you did that, et cetera, et cetera. That was the solvers of 2007, 2008.
Might argue it was better.
I enjoyed it more. Yeah, much more social.
What was it like living with Chance?
Dude, it was great. So I was 22, he was 21. We lived at a condo in Vegas that's not the most upscale one, called Allure Condominiums. Backs up right to the Naked City, which is not a pretty crime-intensive place. But we were young and had enough to enjoy our lives, go out, have fun and have nice dinners, go to the nightclubs, whatever. We had a blast back then, of course. Yeah, hangovers weren't so real like they are today.
Who was better back then?
I had more experience than him. I definitely had more experience than him. You can do this. Either way's fine. Either way's fine. I had more experience than him, especially in PLO, but he took to PLO, and we learned together a lot quickly, and surpassed me in a lot of ways during times for sure. And obviously now he's much better in No Limit by a mile in tournaments in general. But at the time, I had been playing a little bit longer, so I probably had more to teach him. But we learned together, yeah, for sure.
Today, you guys are still good friends?
Yeah. So he just moved. He was my neighbor here in this neighborhood until about a year ago. He moved, and his wife and my wife are great friends, and we still hang out every time he's in town. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great. Okay, let's go back to golf for a second. Mm-hmm. So you're playing golf. You're a 6 handicap. I've heard this said before. Yeah, to go from an 18 handicap to a 12 handicap, probably not that hard, if you really work at it. To go from a 12 to 6 is really hard. To go from a 6 to scratch is like
maybe not possible.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like at some point you can become. It's almost like chess, right? Where it's like you can get really good at chess, but there does come a point where you're just either innately talented or you're not.
I don't practice enough. I mean, I love golf so much. I love gambling at golf. I think it might be the most pure form of gambling because in one camp you have poker. In poker you might play great and lose, and you might play like shit and win. In golf, if you don't win that day and the game's fair, like say you've stated the game to be fair before the round, if you don't win that day, you have to blame yourself. I mean, who else are you going to blame? You're the one that screwed up and hit bad shots, and there are some little variants of luck, like maybe if you edge out a bunch of putts that day, or you might hit a lucky tree here and there. But in general, like there's very little luck. It's very pure. I far enjoy high stakes golf than poker these days.
Okay, so you and I just started talking about it before we did this. You've got high stakes golf coming? What can you talk us through this a little bit?
So I've had this idea kicking around for like 2 or 3 years about, like I've been in some very entertaining matches, some matches that I think people would be very interested in watching. And I don't know if I can recreate them, fully, but the idea would be, and we're going to film a pilot in the next few weeks. I've been working with production companies the last 6 months and some other, sponsors and whatever else to bring something to life that would involve, like super high stakes gambling on the golf course and film it, 4 or 5 cameras, all 4K, like super high def, like spend some time, money, and energy making sure that the production is very high level.
So you're talking about high stakes gambling, golf instead of poker. It's basically high stakes poker, but just on the golf course.
Well, hopefully I can capture what Maury captured, 10 or 12, 13 years ago.
Maury Escandani, of course, who was the creator.
Capture half of that, I'd be happy, yeah.
That'd be amazing. I mean, I remember growing up, and you watched like the classic skins games, with professional golfers, but they weren't gambling. It wasn't their money. So you never felt like, I don't think they ever captured, because gambling and golf to me have always kind of interlinked. In fact, I asked my dad, I'm like, do you actually like golf? He's like, yeah, not if I can't gamble on it.
Yeah.
Straight out, that's what my dad told me. I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, if I can't gamble.
That's a smart man.
Have you ever played golf and not gambled?
I mean, I have. I don't like it. Yeah, I'd say like 95 to 97% of my rounds, there's something on the line.
Something on the line, right?
And if I'm betting, 10,000 a hole with a big gambler, or I'm betting $20 with my brother, like I want to win that money. Like I want to win.
Oh, absolutely.
At the end of the round, I got to pay my brother the $60. So I lost 3 holes.
I've literally gambled with people for less money than the round would cost, and I still want to win.
Of course, yeah.
And I still want to win. It's just, wow. So how much money? What in your mind's eye? Talking about the show, how much money will you be gambling for? Will there be prop bets on the course?
There's gonna be a lot of prop bets. We're gonna gamify it in some ways that we're still working out the details. It'd be funny.
Which way is the golf course?
Left.
Left?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
I want to see you swing the club.
All right, fair enough.
You're gonna gamify it, okay?
Gamify in some way, but I want there to be pretty much a hard minimum of 5,000 a hole. Or the equivalent if you want to do a Nassau or whatever else, hammer, something like that.
See, I can't wait to see the iconic Tiger Woods Nike putt on your show, but it's, you know,
How about the
it's somebody putting for $100,000.
how about the 10 handicap hosel shanking a $40,000 chip at 10,000 frames per second? Like, I want to see that more.
My golf game, for the record, Matt Savage, who's also been in the 888 ride guest, shout out to you, my friend Matt.
That's one of the toughest gamblers at Southern Hills Country.
He's not even a good golfer, but he
Yeah.
just he has to get the best of it,
Well, he plays as a 34 handicap.
which is ridiculous. He's not that bad.
No. He's probably like a 4 handicap.
I'll take
I
the
might
I'll
have
take-
exaggerated
I'll
both
take
sides
the
a little
middle.
bit.
I'll take the middle on that. But yeah, either way. But no, but I'm like,
Matt's tough, but
He
I will
just
say
ain't-
Matt is fair. He is fair-ish. But
okay,
he's tough.
I like the ish part. Okay, but Matt and I have played on the golf course to the point where he has offered to buy me a house in Las Vegas if I will play golf with him 3 days a week.
How big are you guys going to gamble?
I don't know, but I mean, he also did not specify what kind of house I would get.
We'll get a house and play him a $1 hole.
There you go. It's not a bad idea. Okay. Can you be my agent?
Of course.
I love it. Okay, let's hit the golf course. You set up a hole-in-one bet, which that's
You always have a hole-in-one bet. Like, in general, you always have a hole-in-one because on the off chance you make one, you want to get paid. Like, even if me and you golf today and we had $10,000 hole-ins, I'm going to be happy for you if you make one. Because you're going
course,
to
a
make one every
hole-in-one.
dozen years, maybe.
no. You make a hole-in-one. I remember I was on the golf course with my dad, made a hole-in-one. He's had one hole-in-one his entire life. He's played golf for whatever year, 40 years. Okay, when he hit one, we were dancing on the golf course. The guys behind us are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I each made a hole-in-one."
Yeah, it's insane, yeah.
Right.
It's such a rare thing. I don't care how good you are at golf. It just happens so rarely. So anyways, we get to the turn. I say, guys, we need a hole-in-one bet. So I end up betting 40 or 50,000 with Sean, about the same with Justin Young. A little less with Trevor and less with Dan, but it ended up being about 140,000 total. Of which some of that was going to, if someone made it, I was sharing with my teammates, like my best friends. So Retchie hits it up there to like 3 feet. It's a scramble, 4-on-4 scramble. And I've got a 7-iron, number 12 Cascada, uphill. I think it was playing like 177 in the wind. Hit a low drawing 7-iron, and I'm like, guys, I think that went in. And they're like, no, it didn't go in. I was like, it's close, but I was like, do I think it went in? So we go up there, we don't see the ball. And I'm like, it's in the hole. You'll see it, it's got to be in the hole. So we drive up there and walk up there, and the caddy runs in front of us and starts jumping up and down. And so we drove to the next hole to give everyone the bad news. And they thought we were fucking with it at first, like we were making a joke. But no, it was the real deal. Yeah. So that night was great because I've had 2 now, but that one was better because I took money from people that I'm not as close with, and I gave it to my very good friends, like my best friends. So like we all shared in it. It was a very very cool experience. Had a great dinner that night.
Was that your first hole-in-one or your second one?
That was my second. Yeah.
So your second hole-in-one was worth $140,000.
Yeah. I think I got 134 or something. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. And we had no hole-in-one bets the previous 9 holes as well.
By the way, for the record, I know you're probably surprised based on my swing. I've never had a hole-in-one.
Keep trying, buddy. You're gonna make one.
I'm sure I will. I say dead center.
Dead center.
I think it's dead center, dude. There you go. Hey, thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
My pleasure. Thank you, bud.
Put that up.